All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Remodelers on the Rise. Today I have Keith and Jeanne Liston. They are down, not in St. Louis, Missouri, but they can see the arch from where they are. Is that what you just said, Keith?
Close.
Pretty much.
Close.
When we drive
Pretty
across the
close.
bridge from
Close.
Illinois.
In St. Charles, Missouri. Yes, we'll get there. And they're with Liston Design Build, and I'm going to emphasize design build in their name because that's one thing we're going to talk about today. It was kind of interesting how we've never worked together or didn't really know each other. Keith, you and I had a quick conversation a couple weeks ago just to get to know each other a little bit, but it was interesting how we came in contact because a PR company, a public relations company that you guys hired had evidently was reaching out to, over the last year or so, reaching out to some local press that might be able to feature you guys or get some articles or press, and then also looked around just the industry of who are some people in our industry that would be interested in interviewing the Listons just to share guidance and ideas and experiences. So that's how we got in contact. I thought we'd kind of start there. Tell me this thought, because I think it's interesting for other remodelers to hear this. Tell me about your guys' strategy with hiring a PR company and how that's been working.
Well, it started when we decided to rebrand from Liston Construction to Liston Design Build. We thought, if we're going to make to us was a pretty big step to make the transition in name, because since we've been around, I guess in 2017 we'd been around for 20 or 30, a little over 30 years. So okay. It was a big decision. So we hired this PR firm to roll that out and to develop our logo and make some changes to our website, all those types of things. And that's evolved into a relationship for us that they do almost all of our marketing. We still have some control of the knobs on the social media platforms, but we found that we already, even now, we wear a lot of hats, and by shedding some of that responsibility and getting some guidance from them in their arena, it's been very beneficial. So they give us we sit down every year and sign contract on different services and different avenues that we want to pursue for the year. And this is one of those pieces of that puzzle.
Cool. So I think a couple things I heard there is one, we can't wear all the hats, and you guys are investing in that, right? Finding people that specialize in a certain area and in making that investment. I think that's a good reminder. It's actually something I was thinking about earlier today, where I'm sitting there going, I don't reinvest in my business as much as I should. I almost wear it as a badge of honor. And when you reinvest in your business, you're investing. You're taking those hard-earned dollars and reinvesting it. And yes, we need to make sure those dollars are held accountable when we're doing marketing. We need to track results and everything. And the other thing I just heard on there that I think is helpful for other remodelers to hear is you create a plan. We sit down and look at an annual plan. We decide what are we going to shift, where are we going to make those investments. I think that's very interesting. Jeanne, did you have any hesitation to changing the business name from Liston Construction to Design Build, or maybe that was even your brainchild? I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
It was not my brainchild. So yes, I was hesitant. Number one, because of the longevity of the name and being in business for that time frame. Got on board because Design Build definitely defines us. We work with our concrete subcontractor is named X Construction, and we're not a concrete company. We're not, so it definitely defines what we offer and deliver. And I will also say, on a selfish side, because we wear many hats, I knew the rebrand was going to fall under my umbrella, and I was kind of okay with where we were for that reason. And
gotcha.
In hindsight, it was a really good thing for our company, and I'm grateful that we did it. And it just gives us a more, I think, number one, professional image, a higher a better presence, I guess, in the
Sure.
community. And, you know, it also alludes to a service.
Yeah, it's really getting away from a little bit more of a generic to, you know, we specialize in design and build. So when you're saying some of it falls on your shoulders, you're responsible on the design side. Well, you're responsible on the design side. Is that? Yep.
Correct.
So when it said you were
Correct.
falling on the shoulders, okay, gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
when I
So,
said fell on my shoulders, it was more of the rebrand when, you know, you decide to change your entire name and company, you know, all your social media platforms have to change, your website has to change, your vehicles, lettering on vehicles, your apparel, your letterhead, your business cards, your
I'm
everything.
exhausted just hearing that.
You know, our logo.
Yes.
So it was, we definitely needed an expert in that could help us with the rebrand.
Yeah.
And that's why we started down the road with this.
Gotcha. And Jeanne, you were just hinting at it. And Keith, when we talked previously, you were talking about how that change, you're seeing the fruits of it from a standpoint of the types of leads that you guys are seeing, the quality of leads that you guys are seeing, and you did trace it back to some of this rebranding. Maybe share a little bit about that.
Well, it was almost immediate. You know, we still have, you know, that we didn't lose any of our past clients or any of those relationships. They knew who we were, regardless of what the name was. But when it comes to new prospects and those who hadn't been exposed to us or our message, you know, the size of the projects and the complexities of the project, you know, they definitely, I mean, our average job size has gone up probably 25% since the rebrand. And some of that is the economy, you know, I get that, but just the types of projects are less in the handyman type. They're just bigger scale projects.
Right, which is what you guys are going for. Very interesting. It's a big undertaking. It's an investment. It's a potential risk, you know, but what I'm hearing is narrowing the focus down. We're not all things to all people. And, you know, as much as you can get by just fine with Liston construction, there's definitely advantages to having, and I've seen many of my clients do that. And I think as people are listening to this, if it's been kind of on your mind of going, man, we just seem to be attracting the wrong types of folks. People are confused by our business name. You know, maybe it is time to look seriously at that. Going on to a different topic, there's a lot of remodelers who kind of sort of want to charge for design and project development, know that they are sick of wasting their time with tire kickers, people that, you know, you just spend hours and hours and hours doing design and project development. You guys are doing where you're charging for design retainer and you're getting clear with how your process works. For that remodeler who's listening, that's just right there getting ready to pull the trigger and have the confidence to try that out, what advice would you have for them?
Do it. Yeah, and it's hard, and it's a little hard to sell when you're just starting out. That's what I found. We were in a peer group with some other remodelers that were doing design build services, and you know, I've been there, and you express the frustration with how can a client compare my pricing to, you know, contractor A and contractor B when, you know, nothing is defined and you're giving allowances for items. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to make a number look attractive. And it's just, you know, it just really eliminates the competition. So, you know, you have to be able to sell your service and be able to deliver on that service and have something that sets you apart from those other competitors. But I tell you, it was a game changer for us to adopt that. I can tell you that we started design build not by name but by process when Jeanne came to work for us in around 2010. And I bet you we've had fewer.
We call that AG after Jeanne. We got BG. Like the business was pretty crappy, you would agree. BG, but once G came, everything got better, didn't it?
You've been reading my diary, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it completely changed just the perception of the services that we provide. But like I said, in 2010, so now it's been 10 years. I bet you You won't believe it if I tell you, but I bet you we haven't had 10 people that haven't moved forward
Wow.
with the construction piece of things.
Right. Once you've sold that design retainer, because, you know, when you're building up, and you used a few of those phrases, the service, the process that we walk them through, you know, we can give them a free estimate based on my years of experience. You know, based on the project we're talking about, your project's going to range anywhere from here to here, you know, but in order for us to have detailed specifications, we need a design. We want to make all of these selections up front. I was just talking to one of my clients before this call. Hi, Michaela and Grant in Iowa. You guys gonna say hi to them?
Oh,
Hi.
Hi, I'm Michaela Grant. And they have recently embraced the design build. And I was just saying, hey, what's new in your business? We were just catching up at the start. And he said, you know, we're working on a kitchen project, and it's really the first one that we properly designed and made all the selections beforehand. And he's like, it's just amazing how much smoother this project's going. Right. And that's a benefit to the homeowner. Yes, there's a lot of work up front, but what you guys are explaining and showing is that it's a win-win for everyone. If you were, Jeanne, if you were to add maybe your 2 cents to that, or to speak about the value of the design aspect of it, what would you maybe add to that?
I think it's huge because through the design phase, you're developing a trust factor with the client. And, you know, you're working as a team together. Basically, the clients feel totally involved with everything. We're guiding them along and really offering kind of a concierge service where, you know, we're helping them through all the selections. We got their budget in mind. We can steer them in a certain direction. You know, they don't have to be overwhelmed with all the choices that are out there. And as you're going through the process with them, that trust level has developed, and they're, you know, all in basically. Yeah. And, you know, as long as you can keep them within that budget, or even if, you know, things escalate too through
or sell them on the higher budget.
Right. So,
yeah.
You know, and you just keep them informed. You know, yeah. And say, okay, we just increased your budget probably by another $5,000 to $10,000. Are you okay with that? And, you know, and they're going through the process with you, and their buy-in is happening. And then when you sit down and you deliver a contract, and they're somewhat prepared for that higher number, and they see those renderings of their space with all their selections in it. And I mean, we've had clients that sit down at a contract presentation, see those drawings, and get teary-eyed.
Right, they're just giddy.
Because they're so excited to get started.
Yeah, a couple things I heard there. One, when they add some additional work that's kind of outside that normal, or, you know, when you gave them the ballpark, you kind of put some allowances in there. Hey, during this process, we're gonna make selections. When they select something or add something, to not wait until we present them more details in a contract in the future, but to say, you know, that decision is going to add another $5,000 to the project, and to nip that in the bud, and to have that frequent communication, I have found to be very key, and you're kind of echoing that. And another thing that I heard is, you know, when you were just talking, Keith, about when you started to do this, you know, it was kind of scary. It was different. It was not easy, you know, but what we're hearing now, and it's been 10 years, but I'm guessing even if we rewind the clock 4 years, 5 years, confidence is such a huge part of it. If you want to start charging for your design and development service, you know, confidence is such a key with it, and you gotta try it. Another thing you mentioned was, you know, it sounds like one of the pushes you received was from a peer group. Was that I think you mentioned, was that a Remodeler 20 club or a Builder 20 club?
Yeah, it was a Remodeler 20 group. Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think remodelers need to, whether it's Remodelers Advantage or Builder 20 clubs, or I've got some, you know, there's a lot of them out there. Can you speak to how that impacted your business and kind of even your career, of, you know, the power of having a group of peers, non-compete, to be a little bit of a sounding board?
Absolutely. So, you know, as you haven't mentioned it yet, but I think we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, a generational business that, you know, my dad.
You never know, Keith. I'm actually following the script pretty well. So I think I probably will get there, but you never know. We might never get there. I might take us down another road, but yes, we will be. And if you want to interject that right now, that would be great. That'd be fine.
Okay. Well, and that was really the part of the transformation or the evolution of my ownership into the company started. My dad had run the business for 25 years, and I wore a tool belt, kind of came up through the ranks, and I'd heard from another local friend of mine that was in a Builder 20 group and said it was the best thing that he'd ever done for his business. So I approached my dad. He says, well, I'm not going, but if you want to go, that's fine. So, but it got me involved in the business side of the business, not just the construction side of the business. I remember being at my first meeting in 2007, and these guys are throwing out phrases like P&L statement and a balance sheet, and I was like a deer in the headlights. I didn't know anything about the business side. So that was the best thing to come of it, besides obviously the interaction throughout the year. When you have a problem, you have a group of business owners that you can share your challenges with, to get some feedback from them is it's what?
Invaluable.
Invaluable. Thank you.
Invaluable is the word you were looking for. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, Jeanne. I think he wants to say invaluable because that's what it was. And I think there's what I'm hearing there. There's a lot of remodelers who go through this process of handing things down from a generation to a generation. I've seen dad to daughter. I've seen son to son. And there's so many potential landmines. There's so many challenges that could come from that. And one of the things I heard there is, one, if somebody's going through that, to have an outside, whether it's a coach, whether it's a group like that, to have an outside group that you can kind of have to talk to that's not dad is just really important. I would venture to guess that, like you said, it's invaluable, that it was really something that allowed maybe that whole process to go a lot smoother. That's key.
Yes, because there's a lot of emotion when it comes to a family business, and things that you want to say but don't feel like you can say or should say. It was better to be delivered by 10 other business owners that knew our industry, and what the impact of the transition and how to get there. So it was.
Gotcha. What would you say was the biggest key to the transition from your dad to you in the business? What would you say was a very important key or two?
Well, I think making the legalese work. So the actual the documentation that went through with the group help of my the assistance of that remodeling group.
Yeah.
To get it on paper, I guess, and make that spell out properly, and to finalize everything and have an end date on it, and to put something where you knew that all the the wheels were going to be in motion, and so forth. I think it was still, once we made that decision, okay, in 2009, Keith is going to take over. It was still, when it's your father's business, or I may be different I might be the same when I transition, when I want to get out of here, is you put your lifeblood into the business, and it's almost like your child. And I think my dad still had a hard time, despite the fact that he agreed to all this. It was 5 years later, after the transformation, where he finally, we had a heart-to-heart and said, Dad, I'll still be generous to you, but it's time for you to physically step aside. I mean, on paper I was in charge, but that still wasn't just a, snap the finger, now Keith is in charge, and off we go.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's interesting how, we made the transition, then 5 years later we had another heart-to-heart, right? It's an ongoing thing, and it's tap dancing, and it's making sure that, realizing that the business doesn't mean squat compared to our family relationship, and keeping, first things first. And okay, good. So if anybody has any questions about how to do that transition, Keith Liston, look him up. St. Charles, Missouri. He'll get on the phone, horn with you and tell you more details. I want to ask one or two more questions, and then I have rapid fire questions. You're like, wait a minute, Kyle, you sent us over questions and you didn't send us rapid fire questions. But tell me a little bit, how are you guys conducting and doing virtual meetings? I see it on your website where you guys are promoting that. We're in, pandemic times. How are you guys approaching that, and what have the results been?
Well, it's calmed down a little bit with everyone's angst, I guess, about the pandemic. Now that it's been around a while, I think people are getting a little more comfortable and understand this is going to be something we're going to live with for a while. But in the early onset, they went better than expected. So even some virtual initial consultations where they're walking through their house via FaceTime, and you're getting to see the space. This particular project that I have in mind we have a design agreement with them, and it's going to be a $500,000 project, and something that large that they would have the trust in us to do it without coming in and learning more about us.
Shows the power of, one, a process, and two, the power of a virtual meeting, right? Where you can build a lot of know, like, and trust. Jeanne, can you conduct a virtual, like a Zoom meeting like this, where you're showing your design, and do you feel like that's an effective way to still do that? Can you still move a project forward in that way?
It has been, through Zoom, and then the use of sharing screens and whatnot, and having samples delivered to jobs to their home. We definitely use that when our showrooms weren't opened. And, we also found that you can move a client quicker that way. When you're not relying on taking time away from their day to visit showrooms with you and whatnot. So, we kind of gave design option A, B, and C for a project, and then presented that via Zoom, and they might take the countertop from A and put it with the cabinet with C and the floor from B, but, mesh it, and then everything's done. And again, the design build, we're controlling the budget at that point too. So I think we'll continue to do that with some of our clients. We're still doing it that way. Some that want to go to showrooms, but others are like, most definitely, let's go this route. And that's something we never would have tried had we not been facing a pandemic. So.
Right. A global pandemic. It's not even a pandemic, a global pandemic. And one thing you mentioned of, like, it helps us move the project ahead. A phrase I like to use is cycle time, right? The cycle time from the time that they sign that design retainer to the time we present it to them, or from the time we sign the contract. The longer that goes on, the energy level, their excitement level, it dwindles, it goes down. So to keep that cycle time, keep a project moving, we need to continue to think through the virtual side of things. All right. So rapid fire. I'm just going to ask it. Neither one of you can answer it. Key to marriage. Go.
Communication.
Communication.
Wow. Communication. Okay. What's one way that you can motivate your team?
Praise.
It's a good one.
Important to make them feel a part of something.
Good. And that praise of just, I like to use this phrase of one, we don't thank them enough, right? And it doesn't have to be one word. You guys can expand on it a little bit, but it will be rapid fire. But on the praise side, or if you have something constructive, or if you have something you want them to improve, to put it in a nice compliment sandwich. Jeanne, I really like the way that you're doing this. But I really think we need to work on that, but man, we really just appreciate you being part of our team, right? Compliment sandwich is another way of just that I'd add to that praise thing. What's a favorite book of yours?
Well, right now I'm reading Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And it's really been, it makes you think about communicating with clients and trying to communicate with the right clients and figuring that out. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now.
Awesome. Jeanne, do you want to answer that question, or are you going to pass? Because you can pass if you want.
Pass.
Okay, she's taking a pass. She's taking a pass, folks. What's one thing in your marketing that's working really well?
I would say right now with the pandemic, we've really been pushing our social media posts, and where we were posting just a few times a week. We're going every day. And I think just again, it's brand presence and recognition. And so I can see a difference in that.
Excellent. Anything you'd add to that, Keith?
I was going to say it's hard to put a finger on it. I mean, we do a lot of collective things, and it's hard to put for me, a finger on one thing to say that this is what's working the best.
Yeah. And that's good marketing, right? If we have marketing that, man, I saw this, I see your trucks, I see your job signs, my friend told me, that's a good multifaceted marketing. What is one of the reasons why clients choose you guys?
Trust.
Trust. What would you say, Keith?
Well, that's kind of part of our motto, isn't it? Built on trust. I think people, they can tell we ever act together. I mean, we're very organized and very structured in our processes and so forth. And I think that alludes to trust. They can trust us.
Yeah. Marketing is getting someone who has a need to know, like, and trust you. And even what you were talking about, Jeanne, earlier of, our approach to design and project development, it was interesting how you really emphasized that's just, it adds so much trust and also know and like, right? The fact that when we put that much time and energy up front, no, they're not going anywhere. That's why you've only had 10 slip over 10 years, because they realize, once they write that check, they've bought into the idea, we need to have this designed. We trust these people at a certain level, and let's go forward. Good. Keith, what's Jeannie's favorite food?
Steak.
True or false? Is that correct? Did he nail it?
I do love a medium rare steak.
Okay, there we go. Should a remodeler work to own their building, or are they good to just rent it?
I know it was a big, we've had a lot of things in our, as owners that have been impact makers for our business. And one of them was owning the building. And we moved everything out of our house into our office now that we own. And I think it was at that same time when we transitioned to design build, our Liston design build. So I think it's definitely, again, it's trust, because we have a brick and mortar building right in the heart of town that people know that we're serious about being in business.
Cool. You guys have to ask me a question now to close out our rapid fire.
So how did you get into, how did you get interested in remodeling?
Well, this interview is just becoming so much more enjoyable now. It's, you asked me? You want me to talk about me? So some people get confused because they're like, do I actually know how to do the work? I do not know how to do any of the work. I can paint. My grandfather was a builder, and my other grandfather was a painter. So there's a little something in there, but I have no skill as far as remodeling goes. But I've always been entrepreneurial, and I created this little thing in college called Track the Team. It was taking I created it in high school for my baseball coach, plug the numbers in, totals everything up for the baseball team. And I packaged that up and said, hey, baseball and softball coaches in Michigan, I have this little package and you can buy it for $60. And Jim Long, who happened to be the coach of the Northville softball team, bought it, had a question about it, and called me. And Jim Long happens to be a remodeler in Northville, Michigan. And he said, so who are you? I said, well, I'm a student at Western Michigan University studying finance and marketing and da-da-da. And he said, we're actually looking to hire somebody to handle our marketing and advertising efforts. Next thing you know, we're playing 18 holes of golf, and that's my job outside after college. I worked for a remodeler, took care of their marketing and advertising, started managing their showroom, their 4 bath and kitchen designers, got involved on the financial side of the business. And after 3 or 4 years, I turned to my wife and I said, honey, stay-at-home mama, 1 kid, another one on the way, crappy economy, no money in the bank. I want to quit my job and start my business. And so that's what we did. I turned Jim and Long Bath Kitchen Design into my first client, kind of weaned off that. And, shortly after I started my business, I really put my flag in the ground and said, I'm just going to work with remodelers. It's an industry that is just full of really good people. I think you have to be a pretty decent person to be a good remodeler, right? It's a hard business. We're in people's homes. There's just so much going on. So I've been doing that for 12 years, and I'm a business coach. I'm a part-time marriage counselor because there's a lot of husband-wife remodeling teams. You guys what your favorite food is. So that's how that's my answer to your question. You're like, wait a minute, Kyle, this was rapid fire. That was a long answer, but there you have it. Cool. So let's end by doing this. If people, if they want to find your website or any kind of contact details, if you want to throw that out there, that'd be good. And then let's go around the horn, all three of us. If there was one thing that we mentioned or one thing that we didn't even mention, what would you want to leave a remodeler listening to this? Like what one thing? Hey, if you didn't hear anything else we said, here's one thing that I'd like to leave you with. So maybe share how to contact you, and then let's go around the horn. Ladies first, with maybe one key takeaway.
My key takeaway would be communication. I think, and it's as a business owner, it's as a designer, it's as someone that is interacting with your employees as well. You know, I think communication has to be, you just have to always be upfront with everyone, honest with everyone, and make sure that everyone understands the direction you're headed and talk things through.
Yeah, and as a spouse too, right? I mean, it was interesting, like, what's the key to marriage? Random question to start, right? But both of you are like, communication, that's so true as well. Especially, I mean, there's a lot of people listening to this that are husband-wife teams, you know, and it's hard to be able to manage the business and, you know, be at home and turn one of those off and one of those on. And so I think it's interesting that communication, yes to everything you said, and just that reminder that it's just important all the way around. Keith, what would be your one takeaway?
Well, I have several. Can I have another half hour?
No, but you can have two takeaways.
Well, I think this somewhat dovetails on what Jeannie was saying, but you know, I have a saying, you know, take care of people and they'll take care of you, and that goes for our team. You know, if you treat people right and respect them and give them opportunities for growth, then you know you're going to get paid back in tenfold. And the same, obviously, when it's your clients. You know, it's not worth, you know, going to battle with them on some things at the end of the project that, you know, they hire you because you're the expert, and you know, it's paid off again tenfold with different referrals and opportunities from them. But then I guess the other, since I get a bonus one,
Yes,
I would say, you know, find a process that works and start someplace, and then just tweak it. And you know, our process has evolved into what we think is pretty darn effective, which is why we didn't really like the virtual setting, because what we were doing was working so good, and it kind of jeopardized that a little bit. But again, it's just evolution of our business and our process, and
yeah,
you know,
and being open to try those new things, and then realizing, you know, there's some pros and cons to this, and maybe we can incorporate this. Good. And then what's your website address that people can find you at?
ListonDesignBuild.com.
Cool. And then my takeaway is kind of piggybacking a little bit on what you said there, but I'm hearing just this theme of a huge key to your guys' success and improvement over the time is just this focus on, this is how we work. This is our process. You know, I heard it in just several different answers. And yes, of course, you know, running a good remodeling business is about delivering a beautiful end result for our clients, but how we get them there and the process that we walk them through is just so key. So if I'm a remodeler listening to this, you know, just that reminder that get clear with, this is how you work, and really become confident in that. And like you said, start somewhere and keep tweaking, keep improving. That's the fun of business, right? We're never going to say, haha, I finally got there. I've reached the pinnacle. There's nothing more for me to improve. There's always more to improve, and we need to be seeking after that. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. Was that fun? Was it good? Did you enjoy that? All right. Hang on one second.